Welcome. I'm Tracy Smith, and this is Here Comes the Sun, a closer look at some of the people, places, and things we bring you every weekend on Sunday morning. Actor Rebel Wilson is perhaps best known for playing blunt, comedic characters, like a role in the Pitch Perfect franchise. So it might come as a surprise that Wilson admits in her new memoir she was a timid child, something she discussed with Lee Cowan.
One part of the book that really struck me is you said when you were in elementary school, did you really eat your lunch in the bathroom sometimes?
Yeah, because I was just so shy that the thought of going out and talking to people that I didn't know was really terrifying. So I'd not often just sit in the toilet and with my little plastic lunchbox and just eat my little cheese sandwich.
Ooh, that's so sad, though.
Yeah, I know.
Her mom was so worried she decided to enroll her in drama class, a surefire cure.
Later in the show, Rebel Wilson on how Hollywood hopefuls are like elite athletes.
What do you think made you stand out?
I think like making it in Hollywood is supremely hard. And I do think you need focus, like almost like an Olympic athlete focuses for the Olympics. I mean, you walk around here, there's a million people that want that same dream. And I think because I'd come from Australia, I'd had a normal life as well. Like I wasn't a child actress, or I had a pretty normal upbringing.
Then, from the Hollywood Hills to Montgomery, Alabama's Freedom Monument. This 17-acre sculpture park reveals the painful history of slavery in America, as works by world-renowned artists celebrate the dignity, humanity, and resilience of enslaved people.
There were 10 million people who were enslaved in this country, and much of what I hope we can do is honor those who struggled and suffered, and those who endured and persevered.
That begins by taking park visitors across the Alabama River, a route taken by tens of thousands of enslaved Africans.
That's all coming up right here on Here Comes the Sun. Australian star Rebel Wilson gets very personal in her memoir, Rebel Rising. Nothing is off limits, from losing her virginity to earning a law degree, in both the book and in her conversation with Lee Cowan.
Stretching out below the hallowed Hollywood sign lies a little bit of L.A. greenery. Griffith Park. It's a surprisingly peaceful place, given the cacophony around it. Although, for actor Rebel Wilson, when she first moved here from Australia back in 2010, the idea of hiking these trails seemed a bit weird.
Being quite big, I was like, who would find it enjoyable to walk up a hill?
She's always owned her weight. Given the pitch-perfect character that made Wilson famous, how could she not?
What's your name?
Fat Amy.
You call yourself Fat Amy?
Yeah, so twig bitches like you don't do it behind my back.
That was really the one that really changed my life and actually made me earn lots of money. Wait, I shouldn't say that.
Even though some of you are pretty thin, I think that you all have fat hearts.
It's clear it was her talent, not her size, that ensured she wasn't a one-off.
Your diary proved very interesting to read.
You read my journal?
At first, I did not know that it was your diary. I thought it was a very sad, handwritten book.
Bridesmaids was her breakout. She got 6 movie offers in the 2 weeks after its release. She was a sure thing, and those around her wanted to make sure she stayed in her lane.
My agents were against losing weight because they thought, well, you've got such a pigeonhole, but it's such a valuable pigeonhole, being the fat, funny girl, so we don't really want you to lose that.
It made her relationship with both food and fame both complicated and contradictory.
People would see me being this confident big girl and just didn't seem to be restricted by being a big girl. But then what they wouldn't see is, after a movie premiere, coming home and just eating a couple brownies and a couple cupcakes and a thin plate of ice cream, and then feeling terrible about myself for doing that.
That's one of many sobering secrets that Wilson is about to reveal in her memoir, Rebel Rising.
If you're going to write a memoir, you may as well just share everything.
The book starts where she did, as a young Melanie Elizabeth Bounds. who had trouble finding friends.
One part of the book that really struck me is you said it when you were in elementary school. Did you really eat your lunch in the bathroom sometimes?
Yeah, because I was just so shy that the thought of going out and talking to people that I didn't know was really terrifying. So I'd not often just sit in the toilet and with my little plastic lunchbox and just eat my little cheese sandwich.
Oh, it's so sad, though.
Yeah, I know.
Her mom was so worried she decided to enroll her in drama class, a surefire cure. Or so she thought.
I was like, no, that's not me. Like, I'm holding onto the car door by my fingertips and she's pulling me, rips me off, like pushes me like a snow plow into the thing. I'm like, no, I'm not going. And then pushes me in the door, shuts the door and says, I'll be back at 5 and leaves.
Like her stories, her writing is frank and funny, including about the most intimate things.
You hadn't, I guess the nice way to phrase it is gone all the way sexually until you were
Okay, that's a good PG way of saying
35,
it. Lee. Yeah. I hadn't had sex until I was 35. And that was something that I felt ashamed about it. Like, I felt really embarrassed about it, actually.
Even though no one knew.
Yeah, nobody knew. Not even the guy that I first slept with knew, and now he'll know. Great.
That's not to say that all the memoir is funny reading, especially when she gets to one of her later roles with fellow comedian and one-time co-star Sacha Baron Cohen.
I thought, oh, he's a comedy genius. And it was just ended up being the worst professional experience I've had.
Oh, look. I'm exactly like Sharon Stallone in Basic Instincts.
During the filming of The Brothers Grimsby, released in 2016, Wilson says she felt Baron Cohen had, quote, something against women, particularly overweight women. This felt personal, she writes. He just wanted me to look and feel awful.
He asked me to do things that made me feel very uncomfortable, humiliated, kind of degraded as a human being. And yes, I'd played characters before that had used my bigger physicality to my own advantage, but I had agency over that character.
Through a spokesperson, Baron Cohen called Wilson's allegations, quote, demonstrably false. One of the writers and producers of Grimsby told Sunday Morning, quote, this makes no sense. Not only was Rebel's character consistent with how she was described in the script, which Rebel had read and approved prior to filming, she also had full agency in all aspects of her character, Dawn. He is one of at least 8 people connected to the film so far who've come forward to cast doubt on Wilson's claims. Nevertheless, she writes that when the production finished, quote, it really sank in. It felt like Sacha Baron Cohen had sexually harassed me.
It's not about cancelling him, it's more about expressing my truth and what happened.
She's felt wronged before, when tabloids in Australia claimed that she had repeatedly lied about her backstory. Wilson took the billion-dollar media company to court and won.
It wasn't just defamation, it was malicious defamation, right? That's what they ended up.
Which is the hardest form of defamation to prove.
She knew what she was doing. Wilson actually has a law degree from the University of New South Wales. She earned it while still starring in a hit Australian TV series.
And she wanted me to tell you not to call her anymore.
I got famous first in Australia for playing this like gang girl, and then they'd see me walk into like my federal constitutional law exam. They'd just be like, wait, but isn't that, like, it would confuse the hell out of people.
But you know what they say about me, that girl is a problem.
She's still surprising people. In 2022, she ditched comedy for a dramatic role.
Do not be nice to me.
The movie revealed a different side of Wilson and a different look. She had lost as much as 60 pounds in just 11 months. In part, on the advice of a fertility doctor. Yep, Wilson was ready to be a mom.
You want to say mama? Mama! Yay!
Meet Royce Lillian Elizabeth Wilson, born via surrogate in November of 2022.
What? Oh, that's Lee there. Yeah.
Hi.
You're not used to seeing men in the house.
In part, that's because Wilson also found the love of her life, girlfriend Ramona Agruma. Wilson proposed last year on Valentine's Day at Disneyland.
All this time, I thought I was looking for a Disney prince, and then I found out maybe it was a Disney princess.
It's called Koala's Big Day Out.
Rebel Wilson has always chased her dreams. What's presently clear from her memoir is that, so far anyway, she's managed to catch almost all of them.
I got you. I got you. You can't escape me.
Up next, an exclusive excerpt from Lee Cowan's chat with Rebel Wilson, something you can only see right here on Here Comes the Sun. Stay with us.
So when I got out of hospital and came out and I said, oh, I'm going to be an actress now. I've seen it. I had this vision.
As promised, here's more from Lee Cowan's interview with Rebel Wilson.
In the book, you talk about getting malaria and somehow in the process of recovering from malaria, you kind of had this, I don't know whether it was a fever dream, I don't know what it was, but what was it?
I like to call it a hallucination.
Hallucination, okay.
So malaria, I had a really bad strain that I'd caught in rural Mozambique, and it was really bad. Like, it's unlike any other sickness I'd ever had. And I was in hospital, and the drugs that they gave me were so strong I lost my hearing for the 2 weeks or the medication. Yeah. So I'm just there. I'm in an Afrikaans hospital, which I did speak a little bit of Afrikaans by that point, but not much. And then, but whatever, I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't really watch the TVs. And then I was just hallucinating, and I hallucinated that I was an actress and that I won an Academy Award. And then I got up there, and then on the stage, I held the microphone and I gave an acceptance rap instead of a speech, because I kind of loved rap music. And then like everyone was just applauding, and then it was so real. It was like I could see all the people, even though I'd never been to the Oscars. I'd probably seen it on TV a couple of times. And so when I got out of hospital and came out and I said, oh, I'm going to be an actress now. I've seen it. I had this vision and I think I could be quite good. And everyone's like, no, we think maybe the malaria demented your brain and you've gone a bit crazy. And I went, no, like I saw it like in 3D, full color, everything. Like I saw that vision.
So is this true that, like, of course it's true, you wrote it in the book, I don't mean that, but your Bridesmaids was you'd only done 13 auditions? And that,
it was about 30 auditions.
30 auditions.
I had one suitcase and one thing called a doona, which is like a duvet. We just call it a doona in Australia. And then a quarter of my suitcase was filled with chocolate. So I'm like addicted. So I just had one suitcase. I was staying at someone's couch over in Los Feliz for $100 a week. And luckily I had done my own comedy show that I'd written and produced in Australia. And so an agency had asked to interview me. So luckily on my second day, they accepted me into the agency and they sent me all around town, and then I went on auditions.
What do you think made you stand out?
I think like making it in Hollywood is supremely hard. And I do think you need focus, like almost like an Olympic athlete focuses for the Olympics. I mean, you walk around here, there's 1 million people that want that same dream. And I think because I'd come from Australia, I'd had a normal life as well. Like I wasn't a child actress, or I had a pretty normal upbringing. I'd had crazy things happen to me in Africa. I'd done all sorts of experiences that made me an interesting person. And then also I'd done all this work in Australia by that point, like 13 TV shows. So I was like the most recognizable name in female, in younger females in comedy. Yeah. So that just gave me the advantage to come straight in and audition for like the big projects, because I would not know how like an American would come and get noticed if they hadn't really done anything, unless you're like insanely good looking. Yeah. I think those people get fast tracked. But like if you're a bit more like me, it's almost impossible. Like it's really the statistics on it. You've got more odds of becoming an NFL player if you're a guy than coming from a foreign country to Hollywood to make it.
But you did it.
Yeah, I think I think I did it.
I think it's safe to say you did it.
Yeah.
Up next, a deeper understanding of slavery through art. Welcome back. Historical artifacts and artistic expressions of slavery in America stand alongside one another at Freedom Monument Sculpture Park in Montgomery, Alabama. Mark Whitaker explored the nearly 50 works of art and connected with his own roots along the way.
So you step off this boat, and we go now through 400 years of history.
That's right.
In Montgomery, Alabama, wedged between a maze of train tracks and the river, a long-neglected plot of land has been transformed.
Our artists have the ability to depict the humanity and the dignity of people, even in the midst of something brutal and violent.
It's now home to the Freedom Monument Sculpture Park, the vision of lawyer and social activist Bryan Stevenson. The 17-acre park, set to open this month, is filled with nearly 50 sculptures by world-famous artists like Kehinde Wiley, Simone Lee, and Kwame Akoto-Banfa.
In this region, cotton plantations were everywhere.
And here you see all the generations.
Yes, exactly.
Collectively evoking the history of slavery in America.
It's a tough subject, it's a challenging subject, and we wanted to use art to help people manage the weight of this history and engage in a more complete way with the lives of enslaved people.
It's the latest project for Stevenson, founder and director of the Equal Justice Initiative, or the EJI, also based in Montgomery. For more than 30 years, Stevenson and his team have provided legal services to people on death row, to date overturning more than 140 convictions and sentences. 10 lashes, 39 lashes. He says understanding the racial injustices of the present begins by reckoning with the tortured legacy of the past.
As they say, the truth can set us free. And I genuinely believe that there is something that feels more like freedom, more like equality, more like justice waiting for us in America. But I don't think we'll get there if we don't find the courage to talk honestly about our past.
Over the years, the EJI has expanded its mission to building cultural sites in Montgomery, like the Legacy Museum and the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, focusing on America's history of lynching.
There were 10 million people who were enslaved in this country, and much of what I hope we can do is honor those who struggled and suffered, and those who endured and persevered.
That begins by taking park visitors across the Alabama River, a route taken by tens of thousands of enslaved Africans.
You'd see these boats with enslaved people chained in the bottom, docking just up here, just a half mile from here. And then there would be what enslaved people referred to as the weeping time, the time where they had to fear being separated from children, separated from spouses.
The park mixes artifacts of slavery, like these 170-year-old plantation dwellings.
We've documented dwellings where people were living in the same dwellings that their foreparents lived in during enslavement until the 1990s.
And this whipping post.
You begin to see why it is so ominous. Enslaved people would be chained on those hooks on the side and would be standing and then be beaten and lashed.
With powerful works of artistic imagination, such as Strike by artist Hank Willis Thomas.
I love this piece. It's so important. I could have never imagined that there would be a place this meaningful for this work to exist.
Obviously, violence, resistance. What else were you trying to evoke?
I'm also thinking about peace and resolution. In this case, the gesture of just stopping the brutality begins the opportunity for us to find peace.
That theme of resilience continues down the pathway to the park's centerpiece, a 43-foot-tall monument filled with names, designed by Stevenson himself.
The names come from the 1870 census. That was the first time that formerly enslaved people could claim a name that would be recognized by the government, that would be recorded for history.
People mostly think that they got all those names from their enslavers, but that's not necessarily true.
No, only about 40% adopted names that were associated with an enslaver to kind of maintain these kinship lines that had been created on plantations, brothers, sisters, cousins. They wanted to stay connected, and they needed a name to bring that together.
In total, there are 122,000 surnames, including my own.
I see it. Yes,
There it
that's
is.
There
it is.
it.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Oh my God.
Well, that was speaking to you. Most people don't find it that quickly and that easily.
Wow. It's moving, man.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It really is.
And with one T.
With one T.
Those are my people. We're the one T Whitakers.
On the back, you'll see a 2T or somewhere else.
Then and now, Bryan Stevenson says, the towering memorial is also a metaphor for the hope of a better future in the distance.
We will continue to struggle for the freedom that you died for. That's what I think we owe those who've suffered before us.
I'm Tracy Smith. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you here next time on Here Comes the Sun.